Thank you, Troy. It is almost 3 o'clock on September 20th, 2022. Welcome to our land use meeting and public hearing. I'll call this meeting to order. If you'll all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Attorney Ingalls, do we have a certification of the agenda today?
We do, Mr. Chair. There are 3 items on today's agenda, 2A, B, and 3A. 2A had mailed notice to abutting landowners on September 2nd, 2022. 2B did not require any specialized notice, and 3A required published notice of the ordinance that was accomplished on September 1st, 2022. With that, you have proper notice and jurisdiction on all items.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ingalls. Do any commissioners have disclosures for items on this agenda?
I have none, thank you.
And I have none either. With that, we'll move to item 2, our land use meeting agenda items. Item 2A is 3879 North State Highway 83, Major Entertainment Event Permit Amendment, Project File EE 2022-004. Matthew Jacobowski, presenting for staff. Hi, Matt.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Matt Jacobowski, representing Planning Services. The item before you is an amendment to a major entertainment event at 3879 North State Highway 83. The project number is EE 2022-004. Brad Witherill is here as property owner and applicant. Before I begin my presentation, I have correspondence that came from the County Health Department certifying the retail food service license that the applicant proposes to operate on the property during the event. So I'd like to submit that as an exhibit.
We'll label that Exhibit 1.
The applicant is requesting amendment to an existing major entertainment event to allow 3 new structures in the floodplain and to amend hours of operation beginning at 10 a.m. instead of 11 a.m. No existing event activities on the east side of the property in particular are being changed as part of the request. The event is proposed on weekends from September 23rd through October 30th. As background, a multiple-year entertainment event was approved by the board in 2018 for 5 years through 2022 on this property. The proposed amendment of those 3 structures and the time change is beyond the scope of the 2018 approval, and per zoning resolution section 2203B.03, board approval of the amendment is required. Approval of the event in 2023 and beyond will be required by a separate process. The intent of the major entertainment event process is to provide for the orderly control of entertainment events. In this case, the event meets the criteria for a major entertainment event, which requires approval by the Board of County Commissioners. The major events process is outlined on this slide. No comments were received from adjacent property owners. 2 nearby HOAs provided a comment of no objection. Referral agency comments were generally standard in nature. County Public Works Engineering in particular will require a floodplain development permit for the proposed structures. Following the board's decision, the applicant will be required to obtain various permits, approvals, licenses, and inspections prior to the opening of the event. The applicant can provide a status of these additional permits and inspections during their presentation. The property is marked by a red star on this map. It's located in northeast Douglas County, north of Franktown. The parcel boundaries are outlined in red. The parcel is located at Castle Oaks Drive and State Highway 83. The property is generally surrounded by agriculture or open space tracts. The proposed structures are approximately located within the floodplain adjacent to Cherry Creek. There is some natural screening along Cherry Creek, and the open space tracts which buffer the cobblestone neighborhood off the map in the town of Castle Rock provides not only distance, but the screening provides some visual mitigation. This exhibit shows a detailed view of the event layout. The red circle highlights the 3 new structures. These are again located to the west along Cherry Creek. A floodplain development permit from county engineering is required for the structures and would need to be completed and approved prior to the event. Consistent with other event years, the applicant has obtained a Colorado State Patrol special event permit for uniform traffic control at Highway 83, and permits and inspections from Franktown Fire and County Building will be required. The applicant, as I submitted as part of the exhibit, has a retail food service license for food service during the event. This slide lists the approval standards for a major entertainment event. Staff's assessment of these standards are discussed in detail within staff report pages 7 and 8. Staff has evaluated the application in accordance with Section 22B of the Douglas County Zoning Resolution. Should the board find that the approval standards for a major entertainment event are met, the following proposed conditions should be considered for inclusion in the motion. Condition number 1, prior to final event permit issuance, the applicant shall obtain a floodplain development permit from Douglas County Public Works Engineering. Condition number 2, prior to final event permit issuance, the applicant shall obtain any required permits and complete an event inspection with the Franktown Fire Protection District. Condition number 3, prior to final event permit issuance, the applicant shall obtain any required building and electrical permits and complete an inspection with the Douglas County Building Division. Original condition number 4, as shown in the staff report, has been satisfied since the applicant submitted its retail food service license, which of course was verified by the County Health Department and submitted as Exhibit 1. So the revised condition number 4 is all temporary constructors located in the floodplain shall be removed after conclusion of the event by November 1st, 2022. And condition number 5, all commitments and promises made by the applicant or the applicant's representative during the public meeting and are agreed to in writing and included in the public record have been relied upon by the Board of County Commissioners in approving the application. Therefore, such approval is conditioned upon the applicant's full satisfaction of all such commitments and promises. Major entertainment event permits shall be approved with conditions, continued, tabled for further study, or denied by the Board of County Commissioners at a public meeting. The board shall evaluate the entertainment event request, staff report applicant responses, and any comment and testimony provided from the public or others. The board's action shall be based on the evidence presented, compliance with adopted county standards, regulations, and policies, and other guidelines. This concludes staff's presentation. I'm available for questions regarding the staff report. Otherwise, Brad Witherill, the property owner and applicant, is here to speak to the application as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt, for that presentation. Any questions for staff?
I have no questions.
I have no questions at this point. I think I'll wait till after the applicant has done their presentation. So I'll welcome Mr. Witherill.
Thank you, Commissioners. I appreciate you meeting with me today. And thank you so much, the Planning Department. Oh my gosh, Matt has been such a huge help through this whole process. So anyway, thank you so much, Matt. Appreciate it.
And thank you, Mr. Witherill. Just for the record, if you could just state your name and where you're from for the record.
I apologize. It's
No, it's
Brad
okay.
Witherill. There's my spelling, Witherell. And my address is 7361 Fox Creek Trail, Franktown, Colorado, 80116.
Thank you, Mr. Witherill.
Anyway, thank you, Commissioners. I really appreciate you allowing us to do this use out on the farm property out there. We've been very well received by the community. We have been told so many times that families would come in with their young children, and that's the first time that they've ever seen farm animals, let alone our live pig races and taking them down to the river and letting them pan for gold. We've had just thousands of great reviews, and I think it's just a great thing for the community to have this open space in Douglas County to do this wholesome family event that we're doing. Matt did talk about the structures in the floodplain. Again, those are just temporary structures. They're basically tents that we put in there. And again, the tents will be removed by November 1st. And also, the floodplain permit is on hold until after this meeting. So if the commissioners would allow us to put the tents in the floodplain, we've talked to the powers to be, and they did say that they would issue the floodplain permit. We did have building and electrical come by actually this morning, and they signed off their portion of it. We are waiting for zoning to come out, and she's either going to come out late this afternoon or in tomorrow afternoon. So that will be done before we open, and that should be all the permits that we need, except for the Franktown Fire Department, and he just needs to come by either today or tomorrow and inspect the fire extinguishers. He wanted a few more fire extinguishers put around the property, which we've already gotten done. We're just waiting for him to come inspect that. So we should have our ducks in a row, so to speak, as far as all the permitting. And I'm open to questions too, if you have any questions for me.
Thank you, Mr. Witherell. Any questions for the applicant?
So, Mr. Witherell, didn't you come to us 5 years ago and get a permit for 5 years?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
Because I've been out there to your event. I've watched that there's a tower that you go up and you drop pumpkins off of.
Fire truck, right?
Yeah, there's
In
a
fact,
ladder.
I remember talking to you, yeah.
Yeah, after we gave you that permit for 5 years, I always tell people, I'm going to come see you, and I did. And I just watched the people, and people were having fun. Kids were having fun. And so I just want to thank you for bringing truly family-friendly entertainment to our county, especially now that it's getting to be close to Halloween. Families are looking for things to do, and you offer that opportunity, so thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
You know, I would just echo those sentiments that we always appreciate the hard work of vendors such as yourself to open up family-friendly events to our community that they can enjoy. Let me just ask on a logistics level, are you okay with the 6 conditions as presented?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and is it 5, not 6? Okay, so apparently it's
They took one off today.
1 condition off today, so just the 5 conditions as presented. Okay, good. Any other questions for the applicant or staff? Okay.
none.
Okay, and with that, I will open it.
again.
Thank you as well. I'll open it up for any citizen comment, either in person or online.
Thank you, Commissioner. This is Troy. I have no online comment.
Okay, and with that, I'll close citizen comment and bring it back to the board for any further discussion and/or a motion.
I have a motion to approve a major entertainment event permit amendment for 3879 North State Highway 83, because it does meet all of the approval criteria with 5 conditions as presented. Project file EE 2022-004.
And I'll second that. Any further discussion? I'll just state for the record that I did review the legal criteria and believe that this application meets all of those criteria. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that carries 2-0. With that, we will move to the second item for land use today, which is the Stonehenge at Roxborough 12th Amendment replat. Let me pull that up. It's the 12th Amendment plat and note change, project file SB 2022-035. Eric Pavlinek presenting for staff. Hi, Eric.
Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Eric Pavlinek, representing Planning Services. The project before you is Stonehenge at Roxborough, 12th Amendment, which is a plat note change. The project number is SB 2022-035. Alex Stockton is one of the owners of the property and is in attendance this afternoon. The applicants, the current owners of Lot 1, are requesting approval of a replat request to remove plat note number 5 of Stonehenge at Roxborough 6th Amendment, which currently requires lot owners within the filing to install a fire sprinkler system for new home construction. The replat process is required for changes to board-approved plat notes. The replat process begins with a submittal of an application. Following a review period by referral agencies and the public, there is a public meeting before the Board of County Commissioners. No formal comments were received from adjacent property owners or members of the public. The property is served by West Metro Fire Protection District. The district accepted the removal of the plat note, and the applicant will improve the driveway and access to the site. The building division reviewed the replat request and had no objection. as long as the fire district provided correspondence in support of the request, and that the applicant will comply with the wildfire mitigation requirements for defensible space, which is through the building permit process. The site indicated by the red star is generally located between the hogback and mountain sides of the Pike National Forest in the western tip of the Roxborough PD. The property outlined in red is located northeast of the intersection of North Rampart Range Road and Roxborough Park Road, as noted on this map. Zooming into the site, the property is surrounded by property in the Roxborough PD. Single-family residences are adjacent to the north, south, and east. Land owned by the Roxborough Park Foundation and a portion of the Roxborough State Park lie to the west of the site. Following are some site photos. This is a view from Moss Rock Run looking west. This is a view from within the property looking north through the existing access easement. And finally, a view from the same location looking west. These are the approval standards for replat requests, which are discussed in detail in the staff report. Staff has evaluated the replat request in accordance with Article 7. The plat note amendment is required to remove the note requiring fire sprinklers for homes on lots 1 and 2. West Metro Fire Protection District does not object to the removal of the requirement as long as the driveway is improved per its request. Additional wildfire mitigation will be implemented as part of the building permit process for new home construction on Lot 1. Should the board find that the approval standards for the replat are met, the following proposed conditions should be considered for inclusion in the motion. Condition number 1, prior to recordation of the plat note amendment approval certificate, technical correction to the certificate shall be made to the satisfaction of Douglas County. And condition number 2, all commitments and promises made by the applicant or the applicant's representative during the public meeting and or agreed to in writing and included in the public record have been relied upon the Board of County Commissioners in approving the application. Therefore, such approval is conditioned upon the applicant's full satisfaction of all such commitments and promises. Section 706.06 of the subdivision resolution sets forth the parameters for the board's determination on a replat request, as noted on the slide. This concludes my presentation. I'm available to take any questions at this time on the staff report. Otherwise, Alex Stockton is here to answer any questions that you may have. That's it.
Okay. Thanks for that presentation. Eric, any questions for staff?
I have no questions.
I have no questions either. Does the applicant have a presentation today?
They do not have a formal presentation, but could
answer questions.
Could answer questions.
Okay. So let me just ask if the board has any questions for the applicant. Okay, I don't have any either. So with that, I will open it up for citizen comment. Is there any citizen comment either in the room or online for this item 2B?
Commissioner, I have no online comment.
Okay, and with that, I'll close citizen comment and bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or a motion. Oh, and I'm sorry, let me confirm that you were okay with the 2 conditions as presented. Okay, thank you. And do we need that for the record? You might, if you want to come up and just state your name and where you're from, and then we'll get that on the record.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Alexandra Stockin, and I currently live on Snow Cloud Trail in Roxborough. And this is for the Moss Rock property that we purchased and are building. So appreciate your consideration on that. We've already done all the fire mitigation with the community, so that's already taken care of. As far as the other condition on the driveway, we had intended on doing that all along, and my builder's here, and so we'll be doing that at the conclusion of the build due to all the construction traffic. We don't want to do it ahead of time and then mess it all up with the trucks, so.
Understood. So it sounds like you are okay with the two conditions as presented, and they may be in process.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So with that, let me bring it back to the board for any further discussion and/or a motion.
So I'll just make some comments. When I first went through the packet, the first thing I read was an email from Ms. Stockton saying that John Brannon from West Metro Fire had said they could go without the sprinkler system. And I'm like, okay, great. And then as I'm reading, I find a letter dated August 18th that says it's the recommendation of West Metro Fire Protection District to keep the residential fire sprinkler requirement. And I'm like, okay, so I made a printout of it so I would have it if I needed it. And I kept reading through the packet, and then I found another letter dated August 31st that says, in conclusion, West Metro Fire Protection District accepts the removal of the plat note requiring residential fire sprinklers. And I think this is really important, that if the fire district, who is going to have to respond, has been okay with the mitigation that you have done, then who are we to say no? So I appreciate these letters from West Metro Fire. Let me just also say for the record that I really appreciated the pictures that were in here that showed what the property looked like before the mitigation and after mitigation. And that's what this is all about, is about fire. And so the pictures are clear that you have made efforts already to reduce the threat of fire on your property. So I appreciate the efforts you've done. I believe that you have met the criteria, the approval criteria that are before us, and I will be supporting this application. Thank you.
You bet. So I'll accept the motion.
I have a motion to approve the Stonehenge at Roxborough 12th Amendment replat because it does meet all of the approval criteria with two conditions as presented. Project file SB 2022-035.
And I'll second that. Is there any further discussion? I'll just echo my colleague's sentiments that we are very concerned about wildfire in Douglas County, and I know the Douglas County Wildfire Initiative is very active on that front and working with property owners to try to mitigate lands that could put other property owners at risk. So we really commend you and thank you for coming forward with this. I also believe it meets all of the legal approval criteria. So with that, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that carries 2-0. Thank you very much. So we'll move to our last item for today, which is the Douglas County Stormwater Ordinance Revisions, second reading, Ordinance number O-022-001. Ryan Adrian presenting for staff. Hi, Ryan.
Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Ryan Adrian, representing Public Works Engineering, here again to do a presentation on minor updates to the Douglas County Stormwater Ordinance for the second reading. The ordinance was originally adopted in 2009 and has been amended on several occasions since. The purpose of the Stormwater Ordinance is to provide an enforcement mechanism for the guest manual illicit discharges and for the long-term operation and maintenance of stormwater facilities. The two main reasons for the ordinance update are judicial reform efforts in Colorado resulted in changes to the criminal code and reclassify Class 2 petty offenses to civil infractions. Additionally, the Cherry Creek Reservoir Control Regulation 72 rulemaking hearing resulted in changes to numbered sections of the regulation, which are referenced in the ordinance. Additional amendments include adding zoning compliance officials as enforcement agents and updating definitions and terms based on changes to Regulation 72. The ordinance approval process is as follows. The first reading was August 23rd at the regular business meeting. The full text of the ordinance was then posted in Douglas County News Press on September 1st, and the second reading and final approval is today, September 20th, in this public hearing. And this is the second reading, title only, Douglas County Stormwater Ordinance regarding grading, erosion, and sediment control, operations and maintenance of stormwater management facilities, and illicit discharge detection and elimination. And just a quick note on that, and I'll defer to legal counsel, but as I understand it, one of the board members needs to read the title of the ordinance for the second reading. I just wanted to include it in the presentation. And that concludes the presentation. I'm glad to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Ryan. Any questions for Ryan?
I don't have any questions for Ryan, and I see Lance is looking around here for the answer to what Ryan just brought up.
If you could give me just a second, I have the statute in front of me. I don't recall that being a requirement for what we call second reading, but if you could give me just a second. Certainly, there's no harm in reading the title if the board wishes to do that.
No problem. Maybe, Lance, while you're looking for that, Ryan, if you can go back to the Reg 72 changes, it looks like it's packet page 94, second from the last bullet. Do you want to just walk us through that specific change?
Yeah, so the changes to Regulation 72 were all in 72.7, which is MS4, Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System, and is tied directly to our MS4 permit. We initiated those changes through Cherry Creek Basin Water Quality Authority. The authority was the proponent of the changes, and there weren't any changes that were impactful per se to the ordinance or the implementation of the ordinance, but rather just a clerical change, if you will, in changing section numbering due to added content and change content in Regulation 72.
Okay, thanks. And I think what I'm looking at, and I really appreciate you providing us the red line, it looks like it's that easements or other legal means for access of the control measure. And then it looks like a deletion of the sufficient legal access. So just sort of, it looks like the language has just been updated.
There was an update to the easement language based on conversations we had with legal counsel would be the best way to describe that, and based on changes to Regulation 72.
So anything from council on both items that I referenced and then Ryan's with regard to reading the title?
So let me start with reading the title. Reading the title is addressed in 3015-407, and it really refers to what we refer to as first reading, which is dealt with in 3015-406. The process for adopting a county ordinance or an amendment to a county ordinance is the ordinance must first be read at a public hearing prior to adoption. After that, you have to publish the entire ordinance, and then if that is accomplished, which we established earlier, then you have the authority to adopt the resolution today. So reading of the title along with a printed version of the ordinance being available at first reading was all that was required. That was accomplished last time. It has since been published, and it is ripe for adoption if the board should wish to do that. So procedurally, that's what we're dealing with. And sorry, I was reading while you were asking, so please refresh my memory what your additional questions were.
Well, so I sit on the Cherry Creek Basin Water Quality Authority, and Ryan represents us really well there as my alternate. I was referencing packet page 94, the specific change to Reg 72. I didn't see anything that stood out as overtly significant there. I know there have been some changes based on the work of the Cherry Creek Basin. Ryan indicated he had worked with legal counsel to identify what those specific changes were, and that was my question of you.
And I believe that's true, but he didn't work specifically with me. Would you like me to get my office down here? Was it Chris that you worked with, or?
I worked with both Chris and Patrick Fiedler.
Okay. Would you like me to see if Chris can come down and address that? Regulation 72 has to deal with the water quality of the Cherry Creek Basin and reservoir. I assume the changes were minimal and to be in compliance, but that's an assumption. I didn't personally review it.
Well, let me just, I can see for myself, and in my review of the packet, I don't see anything overtly significant. I just was hoping for perhaps some clarification or any additional insight from Ryan. Were there other provisions other than that page 94 addressing Reg 72?
Only in definitions, and again, I just want to emphasize, the rulemaking addressed 72.7, which is MS4, The ordinance is the enforcement mechanism that's tied to our MS4 permit. But none of the changes in Reg 72 would change the application or the implementation or anything significant within the ordinance other than just terms, definitions, and numerical citation references would be the best way for me to frame it.
Okay. I think that makes sense to me. Any additional questions or comments from the board?
I have none.
Okay. So with that, let me open it up for any citizen comment on this item, item 3A. Is there any citizen comment either in person or online?
Thank you, Commissioner. I do have one line online comment. Person is identified online as Terry. You're unmuted. Go ahead. I'm sorry, sir. They just dropped off.
Okay. Is there any other citizen comment?
I have no additional comment.
Okay, thank you, Troy. So with that, I'll close citizen comment and bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or a motion.
I have a motion to adopt Douglas County Stormwater Ordinance revisions, ordinance number O-022-001.
And I'll second that. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that carries 2-0. Thank you very much. And with that, we are adjourned.